recording as well, guys. So as you can see here with the X7 and X8, biggest difference right off the bat is going to be the icons. You can see the icons are a little bit different. So for the most part, they're going to be in the same location, but you can see down here, even with the transparency tool, a little bit different than the old one. So you can see here it's more of a checkered board there, whereas in this case we had the little bit of the wine glass kind of leaning over and kind of showing you the transparency tool. Alright, so again, even if you're a little lost, you can always hover over those features and it's going to tell you what each one's going to do. So if I hover over that checkered box there, it's going to tell me that's that transparency tool. Alright, so if you're just kind of beginning with X8 and you've upgraded from X7, just know that the options are still, I mean, the tools are going to be very similar, but the icons have changed. So if you're lost or you're having trouble finding a certain tool, just know you can always hover the boxes or the icons here and it's going to actually give you what that tool is going to do for you as well. Alright, so does anybody have any questions as far as the overall view of X7 and X8 here? Perfect. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and kind of and just show you the around Corel X8 and show you some of the different new features in there, and then we'll jump to the some of the basic tools that we're going to be working with. All right, so one of the things I found pretty cool is the ability to change the overall appearance of your Corel X8. All right, so if you want to change the actual look of your Corel and just customize it to fit your style a little bit better, if you think this gray and white's a little bit too plain, a little too dull for your style, hey, don't worry. They've added this feature in Corel now, so I can go to Tools, Options, or Customization. So let's go to Options. Now notice here we have under Options, we have this brand new tab here that says Appearance. All right, with the Appearance, now you can do a couple things. All right, the first thing we can do is we can resize the overall size of our Corel. So look how big we can make it there. We can change the size, so we can go down some. So now we've gone to 75%. All right, so right off the bat, that's a pretty neat tool there, pretty neat option that we have now with Corel to be able to customize our actual screen the way we want it to. All right, so if you have some issues actually seeing the different icons, you probably want to go a little bit bigger on the size there. All right, is everybody good so far as where we found the appearance toolbar here? All right, this is what I think is pretty cool. I've always liked the color black. I have everything black. I don't know why. All I wear is black shirts. I love the color black, so this is what I thought was pretty cool. Ready? Right here we have color. All right, so under color I can make it black, and there it is. Now you have that kind of look of that kind of that Adobe feel. Also back in the day you could customize some of the different windows. It's kind of the same concept, just kind of customizing your CorelDraw window to fit your style a little bit better. Hey Keiki, how are you? All right, so again, I thought that was pretty cool. It gives you the option to, again, be a little bit more free with the workspace you're working with and make it feel a little more homey, more comfortable as you're going. So again, some cool little options there to be able to either resize or recolor your actual CorelDraw. You guys might not find it as cool. I think it was pretty cool just because, again, I like to have a different look to my CorelDraw. Overall, I like to be different, so that's, to me, that was pretty cool little feature there. Obviously, not so much help for our designing process, but again, if you like to be more custom and kind of customize your workspace or customize your work area, this is pretty cool right here. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cancel and go back to our original view here. All right, so that was the appearance. The other new tool that Corel came out with, the X8, is our text tool. So let me go ahead and select the text tool here. So now, notice if I go to my text options here, we have a couple different things. Obviously, you notice here, we have the ability to change the size of our font here. Now, this was actually an X7 already. What I do want to show you is right up here. We have some settings now. So we have some font options. Now we can either group all our fonts by family. Now, obviously, if you guys have worked with fonts in the past, you know that each font has basically a family member towards it. So in this case, we have Arial. Arial has the Unicode. It has the narrow, black. So different types of the Arial font that we can use, especially if we're trying to create an ad for our marketing department, or if we are trying to really bring attention to a certain word. You obviously want to work with different styles of fonts and different thickness to be able to make parts of that ad stand out more. All right, so again, that's very important. So if I select that group by family, you'll see that all the aerials are now together. So all my aerials are going to be in one spot. All my ballparks are going to be in the same spot. So you can see now they're all going to be combined by the family. All right, so again, that's under that font option there. Now you can also deselect the most recently used, and you can see those at the top there. So again, some different options to work with. And then down here we have font list options as well. And here we have some different things we can work with. So you can see here we can change the number of most recently used fonts. All right, so we can change that. If you're using the same fonts over and over again, you can change that up there to make it a higher number. So now you have more of those frequently used fonts at the top of your fonts tab. All right. We got a great question here. You can also type script and it will pull up all the fonts without doing that. Yes, exactly, Keiki. Another option is you can actually now also search up here. You can search it and it's going to bring up all the different styles of fonts as well. All right. And then you can also you can see right here we have all our font families here with the Arial font families like I was referring to earlier. So a lot of cool different things there with the fonts tab. Just made it more user-friendly more than anything. All right, here's the last one I want to show you. The last really useful tool, and I think it's probably one of the coolest things that they've done in the upgrades, is the new knife tool. All right, so before the knife tool was pretty difficult to work with. Had to be specific areas that you could cut with, but now they've actually made it a lot easier and more user-friendly again. So let's say we have a couple shapes here. All right, so let's say we have this shape. You did hate the knife tool right until they renewed it, Keiki, so watch. So now we have a couple shapes, all right? A couple different shapes here, no worries. The cool thing is, guys, you guys see how much easier they made these icons now to actually represent the overall basic shapes that we're working with. So here it gives me a triangle, a circle, and a square, so I know those are basic shapes in that feature there. All right, so I know that we can find some different unique shapes in there based off of that little icon there. All right, so here we have our 3 different colors. So we have blue, red, and yellow. All right, so we have our 3 different colors here. Let's go to this one here. Let's go to the heart. And now for my knife tool, if we go right here where we have the crop tool, so this right here is going to crop my image. If I click on that little triangle on the bottom right-hand corner, that's going to give us another option or another drop-down menu here. Now notice the second one on there is knife. All right, so let's left-click on knife and show you how this is going to work. Now look at the top here. We have a brand new toolbar. The first option in our toolbar is our 2-point line mode. All right, so 2-point line mode. 2-point line mode means is basically creating a 2-point line with CorelDraw. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and left-click down on my mouse. So I'm left-clicking down, and then I'm just dragging my mouse across the heart here. So you can see I'm creating a straight line, a 2-point line. So we have a starting point and an end point. Now to finish the process here, I'm going to let go of that. And look at that. Bam. That cuts it right through. So now I can go in here and separate the 2 layers. Now, do you guys see what happened there, though? Let me go back a couple so you guys can see. So now if I'm going to go back, guys, I'm hitting Control Z as in zebra, which is going to let me undo what I just did. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I did something I didn't want to quite show you yet. Kind of got ahead of myself there. Irv, you're good. Irv said gap, and it did. It did create a gap. All right. So we're going to leave that the little gap until the end. But I want to show you the different types of ways we can use the knife tool right now. Now, the reason that created a gap is right here. I have gap selected, so I'm going to select none for right now. All right, so this drop-down menu is very important, but I'm going to go right here where it says none. All right, now let's go ahead and create that 2-point line tool there. Bam, and that creates a nice little separation from both layers. So you can see there we have our both layers separated. All right, now the next thing is if I right-click on each layer, all right, so you guys can see what's happening here. We have this little outline, correct? You see that outline there. Normally that outline is not actually part of the image, but because we used the knife tool and cut it, if I go here and right-click and ungroup all objects, now watch this. You see that? Now we have 2 different objects here. We have the fill and also that little outline, which can also be colored in and change the color to any color we want to. All right? So were you guys able to see how we did that there? If you guys need me to go back and repeat that, let me know, guys. Again, these are just the basic, the new tools in X8 compared to X7. All right, these were all features from the knife tool that we weren't able to use previously with the older versions of Corel. All right, so let me go ahead and go back a few steps here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my undo a few times here, and we're going to go ahead and show you that one more time. All right. So last time, let's go ahead and show the actual process one more time so you guys can get the real concept down. All right, so again, we're going to go ahead and left click on the knife tool. I'm going to go here, select my 2-point line mode, and just create a nice line. So again, it doesn't have to be horizontal. It doesn't have to be vertical. It can be custom if you want it to be. So we're going to go there, and now we can drag each side. Now, for those of you guys that were paying attention, how can I separate the fill from the outline there? Bobby's got it. Bobby said ungroup. So we're going to ungroup it. All right, so 2 ways to ungroup it, or couple of different ways to ungroup it. You can either right click on the image and you have your ungroup right there. We can go to effects and then object, and then we have ungroup here as well. So we have group and then ungroup all objects. And then also notice the icon, guys. Notice the icon's a little bit different. So you have your X at the top right hand corner and your little 2 boxes. Now notice up here in this toolbar we have the same options. You see that right here? So those 2 are the same options there. So that's going to be ungroup all. So let's click on that. Drag out the fill, and there we go. Now we have our 2 options here, or 2 different objects here. And this is, again, by itself, so we can do the same thing down here. Let's ungroup that, and now we can go in here and separate those. All right, so again, if you have that little outline and you use that knife tool, you're still going to have 2 objects once you ungroup it. All right, so just know that. So what do you guys think? Pretty cool option, pretty cool upgrade there for the X8. Beautiful. All right, so the next one we're going to use is the different option here. So we have the knife tool, and then here we have our freehand mode. All right, so freehand mode, very easy. Let's left click down on the mouse. That's going to create the start of our trace or our freehand design that we're going to create here. And I can just move my mouse in different directions here and just kind of create a squiggly line across. And now, again, because we're using the knife tool, I can go here and just separate these areas out. So, Keiki, what do you think? Much easier to use that the knife tool now? Basically, they made it really user-friendly and really easy to be able to separate sections that you want to cut out. All right, so again, that's that freehand mode. And then finally, let's go down here and it's going to be the Bezier mode. All right, the Bezier mode right here. Oh, sorry, Bezier mode right here. So this Bezier mode, again, just going to work like our Bezier tool. If I drag the mouse, I can create a curved line. If I just click on different areas, it's going to create straight line segments. All right, so by doing that, now notice the biggest thing, guys, is I do have to finish it. So I'm going all the way across the entire object here. All right, so by going all the way across, we now can separate those different areas. So we can go here. Oh, let me go ahead and ungroup it all there. Perfect. So now we can go in here and separate those different sections. Bam. And you see how we have all 4 sections there. All right, so what do you guys think? Pretty cool as far as the knife tool? All right, and then the last one that I kind of already showed a little bit. Now, I did have a question, and I was going to get to this part here momentarily, but Katie asked, how do we get to the basic shapes tool? It's a great question, Katie. Basic shapes tool, right down here below our ellipse, we have basic shapes, which in your case, if you guys are working with an older version, you might still just see the polygon tool there. All right, so you might see polygon instead. So you might be right here under polygon. If you see just the polygon tool, if you click on that little triangle in the bottom right-hand corner, all right, bottom right-hand corner, we have basic shapes. All right, we also have arrow shapes, flowchart shapes, banner shapes, call-out shapes, some different types of shapes that we can work with that are already installed in the program. But again, makes it really easy for us to be able to go into designing. So let me click on basic shapes. Now that, again, switches a little icon. So you can see now we have the basic shapes. And then up here on the right, on the top of my CorelDraw, we have a little heart. All right, so if I click on, again, that little triangle on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the different options here. So we have a little smiley face, triangle, cylinder, almost a no-go block, or excuse me, no-go logo there, teardrop, you have a lightning strike. So some different things that we can work with. But again, the one that I use the most of by far is going to be the heart. So I can grab that heart, left click down, and now it's going to create a heart. So basically like using your your rectangle or ellipse tool. That's how you're going to create a heart. All right. So the last part of that knife tool, which is very, very cool and unique, is like Irv mentioned earlier, that gap. All right, so if I go back to the knife tool and then go to the drop-down menu, so we got gap here. Let's go ahead and create a 0.10 gap. All right, so we got 0.10. And guys, this is just completely random. The sizing, the actual width of the gap, that's completely up to you. I would recommend practicing and kind of getting a better understanding of the widths once you do create them. So maybe you can go here, and then let's create a 2-point line. All right, so again, 2-point line. We have a gap set. Now I can just go in here and just create a quick little line across, and bam, look at that. Now we've created a nice gap there. All right, so now let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's go maybe 0.2. Let's do the same thing right here. Gap, bam. All right, let's just keep that going. Now we're going to get a little bit creative. So again, create a line. Bam, there's that. Let's keep it going. Let's keep that size going. You can see I'm just hitting that up arrow. And honestly, at this point, this is something I just kind of on the go. We just kind of thought about. But look at this. See what we're doing here, guys? Just unique. We're just adding a little bit more uniqueness to this heart. There. Oh, maybe a little bit too much there. I think that gap was a little bit too much. And there we go, guys. Perfect. Bam. So now we've basically just completed. We just split this up into different sections. You see that? Right-click. Let's ungroup it all. So there you go. We have different sections there that we can work with. And now, if you guys don't want to have that little outline there, all right, so you see how we have the outline, and you see how I pulled this one off, and my outline is on top? Do you guys know how I can get rid of those outlines very quickly there? Yes, Ashley said it. Right-click on the X. So in my color palette, we have all these colors on the right-hand side here. You guys see all these colors here? So that's my color palette. On the top of the color palette, there's an X. So on that X, we can either left-click the X, and it gets rid of the fill color, or we can right-click on the X, which gets rid of that box. All right, so it's going to get rid of that box. Now, that box is still there, so it looks like when you do cut it, the box stays behind. All right, so there you go. So even if you do X out of it, it's still going to be there. All right, so just know that when you do cut it, it basically creates two sections. All right, but for the overall view, if you want to get rid of that outline there, just right-click on the X. Yes, Irv, that overlap would be a good way. Now, are you referring to do like the jerseys, like the split design like we have in the Wizard? Okay, yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah. So for the overlap, let's make this blue. Let's go here to the knife tool and let's do overlap. Again, we're gonna set that overlap to our settings. So let's do maybe 0.02, and then let's create a nice little line across. Let's go to wireframe, and you can see that little bit of an overlap right there. So yes, Irv, that would be a great way to be able to capitalize and use it for those jersey designs. So if you want to split a design in half, because you're pressing it on a jersey, and obviously you have either a zipper through the middle or you have buttons going down the middle, then obviously you want to make sure that those are two different cuts. All right, so one is actually going to be a little bit overlaid because that part of the shirt's actually going to be on top of the other part when you do button it down. All right, so yeah, Irv, that would be a great tool there for that. So you can see a lot of different upgrades for that knife tool. And I'm really glad because the knife tool was a great tool, but it was a little bit difficult to work with. So now they've really made it user-friendly. It made it really easy for us to be able to create a lot of cool designs and a lot of cool different concepts to the designing process with that new knife tool. All right, so what do you guys think? And I felt like that was something I needed to cover just because it is different. That knife tool is going to be very, very important now, very useful for the process of designing. All right, just the fact that we can create a quick gap like that is very, very important and very useful. Yes, Becky, yes. So this is the knife tool. So let me go ahead and go back to crop so you guys can see where it is. So here we have our different tools, right? We have our different options here. Now the third option is my crop tool. If I click on that little triangle in the bottom right-hand corner, we have some different options here. So we have the crop tool, knife tool, virtual segment delete, and eraser. All right. So the one I wanted to cover in this webinar is going to be the knife tool because, again, it's new and it's going to be very powerful. All right. There's a lot you can do with it now that's going to make designing much easier. So there it is. You can see it actually looks like a little knife, almost like a pocket knife. But the biggest thing when you're using this tool, guys, is make sure that we are going all the way across the actual design. If I stop it, notice if I stop right here, it doesn't actually create that cut. All right, so it has to be all the way across. And there's my little bit of an overlap there. All right. So we good with that knife tool? All right. So let's go ahead and jump to our basic tools here. So the tools we're going to use the most of. Oh, no worries, Becky. No worries. No worries. I appreciate the question. All right. So we're now going to jump to our basic tools here that we're going to be working with. So at the top here, we have our pick tool. Our pick tool is going to let us basically select different objects, either one at a time, or we can do multiple objects at a time. So if I have a square, and we have another square, and we have another square. All right, so we have three different objects, three different, technically a little bit different shapes because they're not going to be all perfect. So I guess I can get away with that. But we have three different objects. All right, so the pick tool, I can either click in an object, so left click down, and allows me to drag that item. Now also, if I go in here and I click on the X in the center here, it gives me my rotation arrows here. So I can go in here and rotate this if I needed to. So I can rotate it to the right. We can go now with these straight arrows. I can either go up or down. So you can see it basically uses this point right here to change the actual overall direction of my image there. You can see that. And then we also have down here at the bottom, we have more rotations. So we can go here and just rotate this around how we like. All right. Now if I click on that center point there, notice how we can actually move the center point. So by moving that center point down to the bottom, now we're going to move our shape around just that spot there, the center point. You see that? So before, we had this in the center here, and it was moving around that point. You can see that that shape is just moving around that point there. But if I move that point to the bottom, down here to this node down here, now it's going to basically rotate my image around that spot there, that center point. So basically, we can call this right here the sun. All right, we can call that the sun, and this would be kind of the moon and the earth kind of gravitating around the actual pole of the sun. So in this case, that's your center point there, and it's going to basically rotate outside of that. You see that? All right, so everybody, that makes sense on how we were able to rotate it and change the sizes of my box based on the pick tool. All right, perfect. So now let's say we want to select multiple objects at once. So two ways to do that. Let's say they're right next to each other. So we have two objects right next to each other. I can either go highlight and select both of these all at once. All right, so we can select all those at once, or I can click on each one individually. So I can click on this one, but here's the catch. I have to hold down the Shift key. All right, so we select this one. Now I'm going to go ahead and hold down Shift on the keyboard. So Shift, and then left click again on the next object, and that selects both of these. So hey, what if I want to select this one over here? No worries, Shift click again, and then select the last one there. So now we've selected all three. All right, so let's say we're here. I can't go ahead and create a box like this, right? Because that's going to select the one in the middle here. So I can select the blue, Shift click on the yellow, and there we go. Now when I say Shift click, guys, I'm referring to holding down the Shift key. While I'm holding down the Shift key, I'm left clicking on any of the objects I want to select, which is going to again allow me to select multiple objects at once. So if you're working with Rhinestones, it's going to be very, very useful. It's going to be very convenient to be able to go in and select multiple Rhinestones at once if you need to delete, if you need to remove, or move, or if you need to adjust just a tad bit. Those can all be done by that Shift key. All right. So everybody good so far with the pick tool there and the different ways to utilize that pick tool? And again, this is because it is a free beginner webinar. I like to just be as specific as possible as far as what the tools can do for you. All right, so we're gonna go, kind of just go through every single tool and show you guys what it's gonna do for you. All right, so there is the pick tool. All right, so next tool we can work with is the shape tool, which is going to be very, very, very important. Now the shape tool is what's going to allow us to edit our objects or edit our designs and change the overall properties of these designs. All right, so what do I mean by that? Let's go ahead and click on it and show you some different ways to utilize that shape tool. So the shape tool is right here, the second option down. If I left click on the shape tool, and now notice this right now is just a box. So this is something that I created with the basic shapes. I haven't done anything to this object yet. It's just still an object. All right. So I'm going to go up here to the top and click on that shape tool. Now, when I do that, you guys see the 4 boxes that was created on each corner here? All right. So those boxes allow me to really adjust each corner of this object here. All right, so these are all objects, or this is one object right now, and I can go in here. So if I select any of these black boxes on each corner here, watch this. So I'm going to left click down and I'm going to drag my mouse, and you can see now it's converted those sharp corners to these nice little rounded corners. All right, beyond that, at the top here, we have a brand new toolbar that pops up once we are in that format, and we can also change the actual overall look of that corner. So we can do a scalloped corner here. So you can see now each corner is scalloped inwards. Okay, you want me to repeat that? No problem. All right, so let's start from beginning. Let's start from the beginning. All right, so let me get rid of this square here, and I'm going to completely draw a new square. So we're going to go here, create a new rectangle. Not so much a square, but a rectangle. And then we're going to go to the shape tool right here. All right, so all I've done so far is create a rectangle, clicked on the shape tool, which activated all my corners here, and then I grabbed that little box right up here in the left hand corner and drug my mouse to the right. All right, so by dragging it to the right, you can see it creates either a more rounded corner, or if I leave it a little bit more towards the actual corner, it just creates a nice little rounded edge there for us. All right, did that make sense? Everybody good so far? No shift key or anything, exactly. No shift key, nothing. All I did was I grabbed that little dimension key there and I just drug it to the right. And the reason for that is because we're already kind of in a special mode, which is that shape tool. So that way we don't have to really click on anything. And from that point, we can come up here and change the actual style of the corner. So you guys can see that, how we can change those. All right, so again, that's the basic overview of the shape tool. You know, one way you can use it. Now, here's the other way we can use the shape tool. We're just going to stick with the shape tool, all right? Now, again, earlier I mentioned that this was still a normal object. All right, you can see it's still a normal object. Our editing points are all on the corners here, right? All right, so watch this. I can go to Effects. Oh, sorry, not Effects. Object. And then down here in Object, we have this special little tool right here that says Convert to Curves. All right, so watch this. By me left-clicking on that, all right, by left-clicking on Convert to Curves and then clicking on Shape Tool, now you can see we don't have those boxes anymore. You see those black boxes are gone. All right, now this tells us that each of these blue boxes here, those are nodes, which nodes are the ones that we need. We need nodes to be able to adjust or edit our shapes. And you can see up here we have a whole new toolbar that pops up once we convert this over to curves. So very important. If you want to edit the image or the object, it has to be converted to curves. All right. Now, if you're tracing something, if you trace something with a tracing tool, then that's already converted. You can go ahead and utilize that. You can go and convert and edit the points on that line. But because we just use the basic shape, we still have to do that extra step and convert it over. All right. So now from this point, I can go here, drag that, and you can see it doesn't actually give you that same movement that the original shape tool did with just a basic tool. It now allows us to go in and edit each of those nodes or points however we want. So I can go here. Let's go ahead and select this little, you guys see this little arm right here with the arrow at the end of it? Look at this. I can go in here and adjust the width or the size of that curve by dragging that control point out. All right, so I bring it in closer towards the node. It makes the curved line a little bit smaller. If I drag it out more, it makes more of a curve. All right, again, we can move that to the left, to the right to adjust it perfectly. Now we can also add points on this line here. So I can actually add the points to this line, which is going to give me a bigger ability to adjust or edit that particular design. So let's say we want to add our node right here. Two ways to do that. I can go to this line right here. I can either double click on it, and that's going to add a node. So you can see that box right there. So that creates a perfect straight line and perfect straight line this way. All right. The other way to add a node is by clicking on a location on any of the lines here, and then at the top of my toolbar, do you guys see where the top tool or the toolbar is up here? let me go ahead and hover over it so you guys can see. So this right here says if you hit on the little plus sign, it's going to increase the number of the edible line segments in that curve. All right, so let's go ahead and left click on that. And there it is. Now we have a new point. So same thing we did over here, we just did over here. All right, the last thing I want to show you guys. The last thing I want to show you guys in the shape tool. Notice that when I pull this, that's a straight line, right? What if I want to convert that over to a line that we can curve and adjust? All right, and that key word in there was curve. So what did we do earlier to this image here to convert it? All right, exactly, convert the curves. Now watch, it's going to be a little bit different. Before we converted the whole object to curves. Now we just want to convert these line segments, all right, because everything else has been converted already. So I want to just convert these 3 nodes right here. So I'm going to highlight the 3 nodes. All right, so all 3 of these highlighted, and up here we have convert to curve. All right, so you can see right there it tells me. Let me go hover so you guys can see, and it says sorry about that. Looks like my mouse kind of went off on me there. All right, so it says converted line segment to a curve, which can be reshaped by manipulating the control handles. All right. So what that tells me is if I go here and I left click on that control to curves, convert to curves, watch this now. You see that straight line? Hey, we are now made that straight line into a curved line. All right. Remember earlier we made this one as well? Notice I can't do with this one. I haven't converted to curves yet, so this is what I get if I try to change the lines there. All right, but in this case, we've already converted to curves, so I can go here, adjust that now. Let's go here, make that curve a little bit more. Let's bring this in some, bam. Let's bring this out if you wanted to. And now we got some kind of ears going on there. But you guys can see, now I can adjust that particular area there because I added a node, and I was able to convert it into a format that I could change not just that line into a curve, but also adjust the curve to make it fit the actual original object or make it look like the object you're trying to make it look. All right, so again, there's a lot of different points that are going to allow you to do a lot more customization towards that object. All right, everybody good so far as why we use the shape tool and the importance of that shape tool? All right, excellent, excellent. That's what I like to see. All right, so let's go ahead and keep moving along here. The next tool we're going to run into are going to be our tracing tools. All right, so the tracing tools, I'm going to go over just a couple of the ones that we really use most often. The 2-point line, kind of went over that a little bit with the actual, when we covered the knife tool, kind of saw the concept behind that one. That 2-point line is actually the same. It's going to be the similar concept as our tracing tool here. Can you show where the convert to curve is? All right, so convert to curve, and I'll show you after I do this. In this tracing, it's going to be a perfect time, Katie, all right? All right, so again, I can go here, left-click down, drag the mouse to the right, and create a 2-point line. All right, so we have a starting point and end point. Now at the top here, we have some different options to work with as well. So here we have the start of our line, so I can change the start of our starting point to any of these arrowheads right here that we want to. So let's go ahead and do something different. Let's do a little airplane. All right, so there's my little airplane right here. Bam. Now here's the thing, guys. I'm still right now, this is just creating a line. All right, so I'm just creating a line. So if I go to view and wireframe, you're not going to see that plane there. All right, so you're not going to be able to see that yet. So this is where I need to get a little bit more creative and take an extra step to be able to convert this over to a file that can be cut out, but also is going to recognize the images that we just added to our lines here. All right, so let's go back here. I'm going to do the drop-down menu here, and then let's select a different finish point. All right, so there it is. Again, if I go to view wireframe, it's not there. So do you guys know what I need to do to be able to convert this over to a line that can be cut out as far as being able to see the endpoints? And let me go one more step. Let me go here and change the point size. Let's say to 16. So now you can see that image a lot better, right? But again, if I go to view wireframe, all you see is that little thin line. That little thin line. All right? And Irv's got it. Irv said we need to convert this to an object. All right? So right now we see, well, this is what we're supposed to be seeing, or we want to see once we before we send it to our cutter, right? But right now, all we're seeing is a little thin line. So watch. Let me go back to that wireframe so you guys can see this as we're doing it real life. All right. So right up here we have this convert outline to object. But notice this is a special toolbar here. All right. This is a special toolbar right here. This is a toolbar that comes with our software. If you don't have this toolbar because you don't have our software, just know you can also find that right under object. So we can go to object and then convert outline to object. Now watch how cool this is, guys. If I left click on this, all right, left click on that, it converts that little line into an object. So now, bam, we have cut lines. This is something I can now send over to my cutter and have cut out. Because again, you can see the cut lines. You can see these nodes here. Now, what are those nodes used for? How can we control those nodes, guys? Bobby said it. Shaping tool. Perfect. And then we can adjust them. Exactly. Katie, okay, I found the images, but how do I get them added to the line? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Are you saying the images right here? Katie, did you see how I was able to add them to the line? So basically, you just select the image you want to add on there. Just click on it, and it adds it to the corners. All right, perfect. Now, the other question you had, I know, was how do I convert it to curves? Very easily. Let's go ahead and go back to the shape tool. Katie, so you did add it, so you went like this, created a line, and then you just selected. Make sure you zoom in. You might not be able to see it right now, but just zoom in, and you'll see kind of posted on there. But if I zoom out, it's tough to see. So one thing you can do is change that point size to a higher point size for right now, and you'll be able to see the actual image a lot better. All right, so it is in there. If you click on it, if you select the line and you select that, as long as you haven't converted it to an object yet. Oh, that was it. Beautiful. All right. All right, perfect. So now let's go here to my shape tool, and this was your other question, correct? So the other question is how do I convert it to curve? Is if I highlight my nodes here, I can go up here to convert to curve, and now we can adjust this wing right here. So you see that? Even though it was an image already created, I can still adjust it after the fact, all right? Because we converted to an object, which can then be edited. So I can go in here and adjust any of these points here. We can go in here and delete. See that? So now we just create a whole new airplane there. So again, different ways to utilize that shape tool, and you can see now the importance of that shape tool. All right. So what do you guys think? Pretty cool there. What you can do with the 2-point line curve or the 2-point line tool there. All right. The next one I'll show you guys is going to be the Bezier. All right. The Bezier, pretty cool. What I can do is I can left click down to start my tracing point, and then we can click again. You can see we have a straight line. Now if I click again, we have another straight line. I can keep going. Straight line, straight line, straight line. All right, but what if you want to create a curved line? All right, so if you want to create something that's a little bit more curved, let's say we get to a point on the design that's curved, I want to do same thing when left click down. All right, so we're going to left click down. Now here's the difference, guys. I'm still left clicking down. I haven't picked up my finger from the left click. So now if I drag my mouse, you can see it forms a curved line. Again, we have those control point arms. Those control point arms are very important because it lets me adjust the size of my curve. So if I drag it to the left, notice my curve gets wider, or to me deeper. If I go forward, it's not so much of a curve anymore. It's losing a lot of that curvature. You see that? And then of course we can go left, right if you want to move it. Now here's the other cool one. If I hold C down, you see if I hold C, it only moves that control point. You see that? If I let go of it, oh, there you go. It moves. So it moves the entire node. You see that? It moves the entire line. But if I put the C down, it only is going to let me move just that just that control point there. All right. So again, C is only going to allow me to, there we go, move just that control point there. You see that? So not the entire node. All right. And then of course, to finish off our trace, we're going to go to our starting point here. I'm going to hover over it. Once it says node, I know I can click on it, and that's going to complete my trace. All right, so now that we've closed it off, if we did it correctly, if we trace this image correctly, I should be able to click on a color over here, and it's going to fill it in, and it does. All right, because if I didn't finish that process there, so let's say if I have it here, and I start up right around here, but there's a little bit of a gap, that image right there is not closed off, so it won't let me actually fill it in with a color until you do finish the process of connecting the beginning point and the end point. All right. So that's how that's why this is colored in and this one is not. All right. All right, guys. So the last tracing tool I'm going to show you before we just get into our basic ellipse and rectangle tools here to finish it off is going to be the B-spline tool. So B-spline tool right here. The B-spline tool basically allows me to left click down and just trace around an image. So see that every time I left click down, it not only creates a curved line for me, but it also creates these points. So these straight line segments here. So again, we just kind of showed the Bezier tool. Notice the Bezier tool, what it did was basically this right here, was give us what the preview is showing us. All right, so the Bezier tool connects these points for you, while the B-spline tool creates more of a curved line that we can then go ahead and adjust it later on. All right, so if I want to bring this curved line right here, this curved point here, to this sharp angle here, if I select that angle or that node right here, and then go to the top, we have right here where it says clamp control point. Notice you only have two options here, clamp or unclamp. All right, so we're going to go here and clamp it, and bam, brings it right to that control point. So there's my line. Now, of course, I can go in here and adjust any of the nodes. I can drag the nodes down. We can bring it up, do some different things to it. Whatever you really want to do from that point, we can do now. Again, just adjusting the nodes. Shape tool, again, coming in handy. That's a very useful tool. Always remember that. So there we go. Again, adjusting the image how we want. And if you want to color this in, because I closed it off, there it is. Now, notice how this creates a curved line. What if I'm tracing and I want to create a sharp corner on the go? All right, so we can actually press the letter V as in Victor. All right, V as in Victor, and that creates a sharp line. See that? So again, I'm left clicking down. Every time you hear that little ding ding, that means I'm clicking down that letter V as in Victor. All right, so right here, V as in Victor. See that? It's a sharp corner now. All right, so again, V. See that? It didn't make that sound there, so it told me that I clicked the V too quick. It didn't actually capture that fact that I was supposed to do that. See that? So every time I click that V, it's creating that sharp corner. If I don't, it's just going to create a curved line. All right, so again, if you're designing, if you're in the process, just remember the letter V as in Victor. Letter V. Oh. Sharp corner. All right, very important because it's going to make life easier while you're going. All right, so the letter V for those sharp corners. And then again, because I connected it, there's my image. All right, so again, those are the three main tracing tools that you're going to cover, that you're going to be using most often. If you guys want to get a little bit more insight on those tools, also we have the basics video on our playlist, or excuse me, our YouTube channel that you guys can also take a look at, and we go basically through every single feature and show you how to utilize those. All right, so that's going to be very important. All right, guys, before we get going here, I know it's already 2:45, but a couple different tools I want to show you real quick. The rectangle tool, a couple things behind the rectangle tool. If I hold the control key down, it's going to create a perfect square. Notice that if I'm holding control and I drag my mouse, it's not going to let me do anything but a perfect square. All right, and how do we know it's a perfect square, guys? What's the best way, easiest way to find out that's a perfect square there? All right, what do we need to have a perfect square? When you have the same width and height, right? Same width and height. So if I look at the top here, hey, we have the same width and the same height, so that's a perfect square. All right, same thing with the circle, ellipse tool. We can go here, hold down control. Again, it's a perfect symmetrical circle there. All right, obviously it doesn't give our circumference here, but it does tell us that this is 5.875 inches wide by 5.875 inches tall. So that tells me it's a perfect circle. All right, so again, that's by holding down control. So control, perfect shape. Now, if I want to create a shape based off a certain point, so let's say I have this, let's go here. All right, so let's say we have, same thing, no worries. All right, so we have a rectangle. Now, I want to basically create this rectangle from a center point. All right, if I hold down shift, you see what it's doing here, guys? So it's not making it perfect for me, but what it is doing, so this is shift, this is not shift. This is just a normal dragging, making a rectangle. This is if I hold shift. You see that? All right, let me go here to the center of the page so you guys can see a little bit better. All right, so again, left clicking down and dragging. Now I'm going to press down the letter shift key, the shift key, so you guys can see what's going to do. And now you can see it creates a shape off the center point. So we can go down, up. It doesn't matter. It's going to keep it on that plane there. You see that? Now if I let go of the shift key, notice it's going off the left-hand corner up here, top left-hand corner, and creating that design off of that angle there. All right, shift, again, it goes right back to the center point. So if you hold shift, it's going to create the design off my center point. If I hold control, it's going to create a perfect angle or a perfect shape. And if I just drag the mouse, it's going to create it from the top left-hand corner and create your shape. All right? We good with that, guys? Excellent, excellent. So we did run out of time here, and I am going to go ahead and create another. I'm going to do a lot more webinars, these free webinars for X8, since we just started carrying X8. So they're just going to keep coming. Obviously, 45 minutes is not enough time to show the entire software. You would hope not, since it's a pretty complex program. But I'm going to keep going through all the different basic tools, and that way you guys can grab that grasp on the different tools and how they work. And we're just going to keep it going, where I'm going to kind of start the next webinar where we stopped this one, which was our ellipse tool and our rectangle tool. Becky, yes, I am recording this, so I will upload it. I have another training I did earlier that I need to upload, so hopefully by the end of the day, today or tomorrow, I'll have this uploaded on the free webinar section. All right.